Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the SturmTiger, the German tier 10 tank destroyer. Recently just came out. It's a very derptastic tank destroyer. It's pretty funny to play. Is it the best tank in the universe that they've just released? No, I don't think. I think it's a meme factor vehicle. It's not one that's extraordinary and it's not one that's bad, right? It's got a honking great gun. It's got great splash. It's got high alpha damage. But the thing that is the meme of this tank is the splash. Because the splash... Well, you can there's so many occasions where you end up shooting one tank, do like 700 damage. And you see it pop up saying you've done 700 damage. But then you look at your top corner and you're like, wait, I've done 1,000 damage? And that's because you splashed someone else that's just sat right next to him. It's pretty funny, to be honest. I've enjoyed playing this tank. The entire line as a whole isn't great. There is one or two tanks that are fantastic. Well, that are fun to play. I wouldn't say fantastic. Are good memes. But for the most part, the line is pretty tragic. The tier 9, the bar, is just horrendous. I've full on skipped it. I played like 5 games in it. And was just like, oh, hell nah. And just fully stopped playing it. It's a dreadful tank. But this SturmTiger isn't that bad. It can be quite a fun tank to play. The shell velocity is dreadful, but the big honking gun is great. So, in terms of the crew that I run on this tank, are on Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Clutch Braking, Run and Gun, Situational Awareness, and Camouflage Expertise. Now, I run these skills on the tank because, well, I want Clutch Braking because it is a turretless TD. It doesn't have very good gun arc at all. It's got like a couple of degrees each way. So you want to have the clutch braking because that is your gun traverse. So you want the clutch braking to make sure that your tracks turn just that little bit quicker so you can get the gun on target. I run and gun because I like having some meme shots where I fire on the move. And honestly, it's funny when you hit the shots on the move in this tank. So that's the only reason I run that is just the meme value. You could quite easily swap out Camouflage Expertise and Run and Gun for other things like firefighting and all that. Big beam shot coming in here. Ouch. 1581 to that Progetto. Ouchies. Yeah, so you could... The Camouflage Expertise, because it is as big as a house, and it doesn't have that good a camo. I do run Camouflage Expertise just to try and help it a little bit in terms of just not getting spotted every now and then. But it is as big as a house, so you could argue that that perk on this tank is pointless. And that, you know, that's the same as run and gun, to be fair. How often are you truly going to be running on the move to fire in this tank? So, like I say, you could have the firefighting skills, because it does like to get set on fire. It is German. Also, you could have smooth ride. Is it smooth ride? No. The other skill that helps your terrain resistances as well, to try and help the mobility of the tank. You could definitely do that. You could have... there's quite a few other skills you could have, you know. They're just what I like to run on this tank, personally. In terms of equipment, this line was made for that advanced loader, right? So I run the advanced loader, which is, well, yeah, the gun rammer, the advanced loader, and optics. Advanced loader reload, is that advanced reload or advanced loader? The one where you can just change your ammo without having to reload. That piece of equipment was definitely made for this line because this whole line has a HE shell that is unbelievably great, or an AP or heat shell which is dirty, right? So you can decide, you know what, I want to fire heat or AP here. Heat or HE, sorry, as we derp that guy for 1100. And honestly, it's great. It's a great decision because the 280 heat pen on this tank is fantastic, right? But there's a lot of times with the shell velocity and tanks that you might come against that you're not going to guaranteed pen something. So you might have the heat loaded and you just go, oh, you know what, actually, I could just load the HE and just derp someone. And just switch. So you definitely want to run that ammo swapper equipment. So we come around the corner. This team just wasn't paying attention to me at all. Big heat into the Jagdpanzer, coming around that corner, slap him, shut him down for 1200. Because you got 1300 damage on the heat shells. And 1300 damage is a lot for that shell. You've got a great reload as well, to be honest, for the damage you do. And your HE shells have got 1700. Well, when tanks aren't paying attention, you can roll as high as 1900. Yeah, that was a meme shot. Definitely. It's honestly, the meme factor of this tank is definitely something that is great, and I have had a lot of fun playing it. Is it necessarily good for the game to have something that's as big, this is just as got as big a caliber of gun as this, that runs around and can just dirt people for like 800 consistently? Because it is, it's literally you shoot people and you do 700 to 800 consistently every 21 seconds. I don't have to worry about armor. I can just go blap, right? The shell velocity's terrible. Gun handling isn't great, right? And there is shots that miss that you sit there going, eh? How did that miss? Like, honestly, you just have no idea. And it shows like that, right? That was snapped. Okay. That looked like it was going on target and then it just dipped last second. And it's shots like that are like, you just sit there going, I don't know what's just happened. But when you hit, like I say, you're doing 700-800 consistently with just the HE splash. And then if anyone happens to be near them as well, right? If anyone happens to be near the tank that you splash, you end up getting a load of damage extra on top of that too. I've had it quite a few times now. This is going to be a bombardier machine, right? This tank is definitely going to be a bombardier machine. It's going to be a tank that loads of people get bombardiers in because you can shoot in between two tanks. And to be honest, sometimes for the tank, it's more worth, if two tanks are right next to each other, it's more worth shooting in between two tanks than it is just shooting the tank head on with the HE. Because you're more likely to splash in between them, do like 500 to one tank, and another 700 to another tank that you shoot closest to. So, you know, you're going to end up with like 1200 damage compared to if you just shot one of the tanks in the face, where you'd probably end up doing like, you know, oh, lovely shot into the back of the E3. Well, yeah, you know, you'd be probably doing 700 to that one tank anyway if you shot it in the face. But just because of the splash mechanics with HE, it's got nearly a 13-meter splash radius, which is just, it's nuts. That is higher than the second biggest splash in the game, which is the CGC. Yeah, the CGC. Says a lot about the splash of this tank. So we finished with that game with 5 kills, 7.3k damage, 711 assist, 8k combined, the high caliber, first class, 1602 base XP, and a really nice game for the SturmTiger. And it kind of showed off the ridiculous things you can pull off with this tank, and how vital it is that you don't ignore this tank when it's on your flank, as that M103 found out. 1900 one shot. The other thing about this tank, and about the whole line generally, is the calibers of the guns are extremely high for the tiers they're at. So this is a 380mm gun. 380mm gun. That is nuts. That is a high caliber. And if you pen people with the damage that you do, and you get anywhere near their ammo rack, it blows it immediately. Like, the ammo rack just goes pop! And yeah, they don't have an ammo rack anymore. It's really, really funny, to be honest, when you do shoot them. I've had it in, like, the tier 9, the bar, the one game that I've actually done more than 1,000 damage. I did 2,400 damage, and it was the only shot I did in the entire game. It was to a Super Conqueror. I just got him in the side, just managed to somehow work the gun so that I could get a shot down. Fired into his side, blew his ammo rack for 2,400. And yeah, it was pretty funny. That was what I managed to do in that tank. That tank is just absolutely woeful. I mean, it has 1 degree of gun depression. It's a sad, sad tank. I mean, unlike this tank has 3 degrees of gun, or 4 degrees of gun depression, I think, actually, sorry. It's pretty memey in that way. And you can just do some serious damage with it. It's like I said, there's some pretty funny stuff that you can pull off with this thing. Like, I like pulling off the shots on the move, where, like I said, that's why I like running gun. Because I can just think, you know what, auto aim fire, bang, do tons of damage. Plus, it's 10% accuracy on the move, right? And if you're making yourself more accurate while on the move, makes it a little bit better when you're snapshotting and you come into a position like this, where you just sort of stop and then immediately fire. And you're more likely to be just a little bit more accurate. So we're on the second game of the SturmTiger, and we are on Vineyards. And we've spotted up this little Barracuda. Snap the shot. Side of his turret with the HE. Boom. Goodbye, Barracuda. 975 damage. First shot of the game. You always feel like it's going to go quite well when it happens like that. You get that first shot, it just goes well. You get a high amount of damage. You're like, oh. Yes. This is what I like. Now, the one thing you are going to learn when you play these tanks is that this line requires a bit more patience. There's quite a lot of patience involved with playing the tanks. Because you can't just go headlong into tanks for the most part. You can't just rush in. Because of sort of how derpy the gun can be. And, you know, long reloads, that sort of thing. And the fact that you have no armour. Because this tank really doesn't have any armour. It's got a decent superstructure. The superstructure of the tank, above the lower plate, can bounce stuff if you're on a ridgeline. And if you're angled quite well. But for the most part, it's going to get penned every time. And the lower plate is garbage. It'll get penned every time. It's a Tiger 1 hull. So it's easy pens for tier 10s and 9s. So you can't really rely on the armour. And that means if you get yourself stuck in too much and get yourself overwhelmed really quickly, you know, you're not really going to get much chance to fight back. So you just got to have that bit of patience. As well as that, with the awkward gun depression, the awkward gun arcs, you get too close to people, they'll be able to out-traverse you, and it's really easy when you are up close and personal with tanks for them to for shots just to go wild and miss. So we've come up to this position here on Vineyards, and we're looking for more shots across the middle at some of these tanks. I'm hoping to get a shot at this Pantera, but the awkward gun depression and the way he's moving and the distance we're at just makes it a little bit awkward for the tank to get the shot in. And unfortunately, we ended up missing that Pantera. So I'm just going to pull around this rock so I'm in a better position to get a shot at him. And I'm hoping to be able to finish him off. But unfortunately for us, in terms of getting a shot into him, he gets shut down by our team. And there is tanks over there. And there we go. There's a 5100 spotted up. I'm thinking, should I go for the meme shot? Because with the splash radius on this tank, I don't have to hit this 5100. So I think, you know what? Yeah, go on then. And we finish him off when he gets unspotted. All we had to do was hit the ground within 10 metres of that 5100. And because he was on such low health, he was dead. And that's what happened. And we shut him down. But now there's 6 tanks left on the enemy team. They've got artillery left as well. And we know where they all are. They're all over there. That Iron Rain gets spotted up. And that guy that just trapped that Iron Rain just got a hefty amount of damage there. 1100 damage, one shot for that poor guy. And yeah, it was the end of the line for him very quickly. So I wanted to pull forward here. I want to get into a better position and a closer position to get shots off, because obviously the gun, the shell velocity, at the distance we're at, if they decided to move, if they got spotted, it's more likely I'm going to miss. So I do want to try and get a little bit closer. Because it is a mid to close range tank. You've just got to be patient and pick your engagements. It is a mid to close range tank. Because if you're firing at stuff that's a million miles away, most likely they have to sit still for you to hit them properly. Although I will say, for the SturmTiger compared to the rest of the line, because of the splash on the tank, you just guess at where they're going and then fire in front of them. If you land anywhere within the 10, 12, 13 metre radius, you're still going to damage them, and you're probably going to track them, and you'll get assistance. Because that's the other thing this tank is good at, and that is assistance. You get quite a lot of it by just splashing, because you'll end up shooting people, and you'll end up just tracking people. As you see there with that Jagdpanzer, because of the shell velocity, we can actually shoot over ridge lines. The Jagdpanzer there, we couldn't actually see him. If we were trying to aim at him through our gun sight, and through our sniper mode, we couldn't actually see the Jagdpanzer, so we just auto-aimed, and we could, and we fired at him, did 660 something damage to him with the HE, auto-aimed onto him. That's a heavily armoured TD, and we did 600 odd damage to him without having to aim properly. Yeah. That, I mean, I don't like splash mechanics like I do like derp guns because it's fun, it's brain dead fun, to be honest, because you can just run around derp him. But when you're something that's heavily armoured and relies on armour, and something just laughs at you and doesn't even have to think about it, it's a little bit sad. It's one of the things that makes Arty frustrating, right? Is the fact that they don't have to worry about anything. They just land a shot near you, do like 800 damage. And this is basically an artillery piece. That's what it is. It is an artillery piece. It's just direct fire, which is, you know, a little bit more acceptable because I can at least fight back. I'm always going to be in a position where they can shoot me if I can shoot them, right? But, I mean, the SturmTiger is an assault gun. It was an assault gun in real life, and most of the artillery we've got are either that sort of thing, you know. So we're looking for a shot at this Jagdpanzer, and we've got the heating, because I want to pen this guy for 1300. And I'm just... Patience. And we pen it for 1300. Patience. That's what that shot was. Because we could have snapped the shot at any time there. But if I fired and just chanced it, the more than likelihood of that shot was it was going to miss. It was going to miss, and then I'd do no damage. And that Jagdpanzer had to go to help my teammate out. And we just had to wait it out to the point where we knew we were going to pen it if we shot and, you know, hit it. So, there's one TD left, and it's Sam. It's Nova Rapid, a good friend of mine. And he's facing our 268 version 5. And the 268 version 5 is sort of holding off against him. And I'm thinking, right, I need to get that. I need to help this guy out. I need to... Because Sam's going to be completely focused on this 268 version 5, right? And the 268 version 5 I was hoping would be more patient, which he was, until artillery shut him down. Now Sam's turned around, he's got a shot into us, but again, armour, who cares? 726, not really aimed that well. Hit anywhere near him, we're doing 700 damage. Smash him up. He's now a one-shot for us, no matter where we really hit him, to be honest. The only thing that could stop us killing him now with a HE shell is hitting the end of his gun. But he could be sat next to a building, and I could shoot the building and kill him. That's how stupid the splash is on this tank, to be fair. But right, yeah, right there you see I decided, you know what, I could go down there, but he might expect me to go around. So I come round, but Sam is a good player. He expects me to do the double take. Doesn't matter because Sam realises, oh crap, tries to pull back around the building. Well, I could have shot the floor next to him and I'd have still killed him. Like, it didn't matter, whatever he did there, if I managed to just get round and get the shot. I had the hit points, he was screwed anyway. I was always going to kill him. Unless I missed, because if I missed by a country... by the way, when I say miss, I'd have had to have missed by a country mile to have not done any damage. In that close range engagement, like I say, I could have just literally shot the floor and I'd have still killed him. I've had it a couple of times. There was a bat chat that I shot at in a game. And he was about 400 metres away. He was doing a full sprint. I just lobbed a shell over. I missed by about 7 metres. But I did 600 damage, blew his tracks off, and he got killed by my entire team. Because splash damage. Honestly, that's just the way that you can do it with this tank. Is that you can miss, do damage anyway, and then, more than likely, because of the splash, because of the high caliber of the gun, because of the high damage of the gun, if you hit people, you're blowing tracks off, you're damaging modules. Things in tanks are dead when you hit them. Like... yeah, they're not going to be very healthy for very long once you've slapped them with this big gun. And this SturmTiger is a fun meme. It is a funny meme to play as a tank. I'm not sure about it as a tank for the health-wise of balance, but it is what it is, really. It's been a lot of fun to derp away and to have those sorts of memes. And we finished that game with 1500 base XP, 6.7k damage, nearly, and 441 assisted. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!